So this next piece of legislation was a bill that I thought was just, it really blew me away when I read this. Okay, mostly because of who introduced this. So this is a bill introduced by Adam Schiff. It's HR 8641 to protect journalists and other members of the press from gross violations of internationally recognized human rights and for other purposes. Adam Schiff.
Okay, so what is he really targeting here?
Right. Who is this target? Who is this focused
what is
on?
this really doing?
Yeah. So this was introduced on the 20th of October. It's been referred to these committees. It's got 16 co-sponsors. Jim McGovern, he seems to be all over all of this stuff, huh?
And they're all
Ro Khanna.
Democrats? They're all Democrats, right?
Yeah, I believe so. And then Barbara Lee, and then no one else really stands out to me here. Yeah, so then again, I always like to look at the text, right? And oddly enough, there's no text. Of course not, right? So what do? Then I go check out their pages because normally, like I said, they have some sort of press release or something. So this is Adam Schiff. Schiff for brains is what I like to call him. He is famously known for being a massive Russiagator.
And just
right.
and the one to most be able to get away with any kind of lie that he had, he said he had in the bag irrefutable proof of all this stuff, and it just turned out no, it was completely fabricating. It's unbelievable. Right. I mean, the lack of the Democrats self-policing even the very worst of their liars is amazing.
And the fact that they have yet to be held to account to have to apologize for for the division that they have brought in this country,
and escalated Cold War and danger to everyone on the entire planet.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. All right. So then on his page, I went and I saw that he has the legislation right here, right? And so I click on here. And let's see. Oh, page not found. Of course not. But I was able to find a press release, and I found some levity in this, okay? And so I want to share this with you. So Schiff introduces legislation to protect journalists from human rights abuses. Jamal Khashoggi Press Freedom Accountability Act would levy targeted sanctions, restrict foreign aid, and bolster reporting on human rights abuses committed against journalists. Today, Representative Adam Schiff, now again, this was on the 20th of October, introduced the Jamal Khashoggi Press Freedom Accountability Act to ensure that the United States holds accountable those who commit extrajudicial killings and other gross violations of human rights against journalists. Oh, the United States is going to hold them accountable, all right? This legislation, meanwhile, do we sell arms to Saudi Arabia? Yeah. Oh, the whole war that's going on in Yemen, are we helping them with that? Yeah.
I'm laughing about the line 3 paragraphs down. A free and independent media is essential for a free society.
Oh, I know.
Are you joking?
Yeah. Exactly. All right. So it says this legislation would prohibit U.S. foreign assistance to government entities and levy targeted sanctions against individuals that perpetrate gross human rights violations against journalists, and would require the Department of State to document incidents of online harassment and electronic surveillance of journalists in its annual human rights reports. Okay, so I'm expecting that the United States is going to sanction, obviously, Saudi Arabia, but also the UK government, right? Because they are torturing Julian Assange right now.
Right.
And definitely electronic surveillance of that definitely happened. Yeah. So he was quoted as saying, this legislation, named in honor of the late Washington Post columnist Jamal Khashoggi, would build upon the Daniel Pearl Freedom of the Press Act, which was also introduced by Adam Schiff, to strengthen the United States' commitment to hold to account those who would target journalists for violence and persecution. A free and independent media is essential for a free society, and the United States must stand with journalists around the world who risk their lives to expose corruption,
Wow.
express independent and critical voices, and tell the difficult stories that must be told.
It's so bold. It's so unbelievable.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
That was my only
Yeah.
reaction. I don't know how you can have any other reaction if you actually know.
Yeah, it's like the only
on.
question now is, is Biden, would the Biden administration, break Obama's record 9 Espionage Act uses, or how much more would he attack whistleblowers or could he attack whistleblowers and journalists than Obama? Right? Horrific. I mean, it's true that Trump will say all this stuff about, it's fake news, and he's obviously not doing the right thing on Assange and Snowden and so forth. But yeah, that's where the duopoly has a say,
Right, that's the accepted narrative.
That's the accepted behavior at this point for the elite.
Well, it's very selectively applied, obviously. I mean, it's used, it's not, it's kind of we can use censorship when it benefits us, then censorship is okay. And
sure, absolutely.
We'll stand up for journalists if it furthers our foreign policy, geopolitical objectives, but not in general. So it's very selective. And again, this is what populism is reacting against is this obvious corruption of the supposed expert elites, right? Coming up with these policies. They're just political stances in the guise of some kind of noble defense of journalists, but it's just I mean, obviously they're not defending Assange and they're not defending what about Michael Hastings, who died in a fiery crash in LA, going 120 miles an hour and his brakes didn't work after he criticized General Crystal in that Rolling Stone piece. I mean, I'm just saying, was there ever an investigation of that? No.
Sure.
Right. Or what about the journalists that were I forget which publication. I don't know if it was the New York Times or the Washington Post that were killed. That was what oh my God, I'm totally Manning. What Chelsea Manning exposed in those videos is how we also killed a journalist.
Right. The Reuters.
Reuters. There you go. Yeah. Reuters.
Yeah. And also we bombed the headquarters of Al Jazeera in Baghdad. Remember that, and killed an Al Jazeera journalist, and that was obviously. It was aimed at the Al Jazeera. They knew that Al Jazeera it was at a hotel, but they knew that Al Jazeera exactly what floor and what room they were in. They aimed their weapon, U.S. Army aimed their weapon at that room. So obviously that was a direct, literal attack on journalism.
Right.
Because we didn't like what they were saying.
Right.
And I don't care whether it's Pravda or People's Daily or Al Jazeera, and Al Jazeera was actually quite respected as an institution. There's no excuse for that.
Yeah.
Ever.
But we will never be held to account, which is that's what's so maddening about all this, that again, if we were to actually apply the laws or whatever sort of rules it is that we have decided all on our own, if we actually implemented them on ourselves, we would not exist as a country anymore. Okay, we would have just all eaten ourselves pretty much, because we would have been sanctioned to death. It would have been siege warfare inflicted on ourselves, essentially.
Right. Well, they're banking on people being apathetic and not really. They're too concerned with making ends meet and everyday concerns to really be worried about journalists or these other issues. People, everyday people, just they're banking on people not being concerned about it. And it did surface a little bit, I think, with the whole, when Bernie was pressed on Snowden, he said, I would probably pardon him or whatever. And even going that far that was really scary to the elites. I don't think, but there was never there's never been a mass movement pushing for.
Well, and talking about Bernie, he never really talks about Assange, how he's being persecuted. But he did feel that it was okay to talk about Khashoggi, which that's why I feel that this is it's the acceptable. Like this one's okay to talk about, but it's almost like the crimes that are committed. Like now the whole thing that happened in France again with Charlie Hebdo, with people being attacked, like these terrorist attacks that are supposedly happening as a result of this, and that teacher that was beheaded, from my understanding, he wasn't beheaded. It was that, he was pretty much beheaded, but he was not beheaded out in public. But still, we talk about, we're so taken aback, and we cannot comprehend that sort of terrorism, but we don't want to even think about the fact that there is terrorism being committed against people at our behest. Okay, like and unknowingly, unwittingly for a lot of people, but it is happening. There are people that are suffering all over the world. Just because it's not in a Western country doesn't make it any less.
Right. But we benefit from it economically, and the whole capitalist system is, corporations are required to maximize profits for their maximize returns for their shareholders, right? So if you can get cheap cobalt or whatever it is from Congo, and it just happens to be exploiting kids who are mining the stuff, well, so be it, because the corporations are required to maximize their profits. So it's inherent in the whole system, the economic system, and we benefit that because we can go out and buy our cheap TV at Walmart, our HD TV, and sit and watch, MSNBC or Fox or whatever we watch, because of that system.
Right. But so going kind of back to what you were talking about earlier, and how do we kind of change things, and how you've been talking about that we need some sort of change in consciousness, it starts with holding up that mirror and seeing that ugly side. And Trump being in office kind of did that for some people, not enough people, and it kind of also highlighted Obama. Like, it's really opened a lot of people's eyes to Obama. Not everyone, obviously, but it really has shown a light on, because Trump has just continued on with and exacerbated Obama's policies. Trump would not be able to do the majority of the things that he's done, even though he really hasn't done all that much. But whatever he has been able to do has been because the infrastructure was already set by Obama. You know what I'm saying? Sure. And so in that sense, there is that benefit, but unfortunately, not enough people, like, we really need to struggle some more, I guess.
Right. Well, we get fixated on the false dichotomy between, the two parties, and thinking that, like, if only my party gets in power, then we're going to fix things. And the two parties aren't that far apart. Like, they're both elitist parties, and they both serve the same system. And then people have to see beyond that. But people are totally brainwashed and thinking, like, we just have to get the orange guy out, which, he's horrible, but it's not going to fix it. In fact, the long-term results may actually be worse. I hate to say it, but you may have complacency as a result of a Biden victory, and things don't change that much. And then, then you're just going to kick the can down the road further, right?
Well, yeah. What will all the media that's currently just been so focused and profited off of Trump for the past 4 years, what will they do under Biden? Right? I mean, are they going to are they going to, wherever, Trump's going to go back to Mar-a-Lago, and they're all going to follow him and just say, look at him, he ordered a cheeseburger or something, and report on that? I mean, they're not going to want to hold Biden to account. So I don't know what the heck they're going to do, but they're certainly not going to tell us what he's doing. They're certainly not going to want to report on any, new wars or anything like that.
I kind of think Trump will keep himself in the news, because he's all about his brand and he doesn't want to just disappear. So I think he's going to do stuff. He'll still hold rallies and he'll do whatever he does, even if he doesn't get reelected. So I think the media will still give him.
Well, thanks to Adam Schiff, we'll have lots of journalists around being protected, from human rights violations and, and
real journalists like Chuck Todd or some, going out and.
Or no, who's the other one that Jim Acosta? Oh,
yeah, right.
Jim Acosta.
Right.
Yeah.
Anywho, well, that was interesting.
Yeah.
So if you do find what the text is, then definitely let us know, because
I have a feeling that it's going to be another one of those. It's going to surface right before it becomes enacted, essentially.
Well, it's going to be another. You need to pass the bill in order to find out what's in it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like the Patriot Act. No one actually read it, right?
Yeah.